Hello people, welcome to my channel. My name is Hilary and today I will be going over all the books I have received in June, July and in August. And as you can see, this file is intimidating, taking into account the fact that most of these are unread. And it's not looking the greatest. But now we can go a little bit back in time when I didn't have this file and go through all these books with you. I'll start first with Broken Binding, and from Broken Binding I have gotten the Winnowing Flame trilogy by Jen Williams, The Ninth Rain, The Bitter Twins and The Poison Song, and they look absolutely beautiful. So I think it's the wrong order for you. And I don't know a lot about this. It is, I think, sci-fi mixed with fantasy. We have two characters, Tourmaline the Oathless and an eccentric explorer, Lady Vincenza de Garzon, and there should be some really interesting animals in here. And honestly, I don't know not a lot about it, but I am hoping to pick these up in the near months. So we're going to start our first file here. Additionally, I have done some pre-orders from the Broken Binding, and I have actually received one, and that is the Book Eaters with this beautiful smoky edges, and this paper itself feels very nice, thick papery, not the regular glossy covers. And actually I have started reading this, so this is one of the few books that will probably be read in the really near future, since I am about 62 pages in. This talks about some people, let's call them people, who eat books instead of usual nutrients, and they are in their own communities living and reading inside those communities. However, some of the people who are born don't eat books, however they eat actual human minds. And this is a story about the mother who is a book eater and her son who is a mind eater, talking about motherhood, being a female in a very patriarchal society, and hopefully it has some really good descriptions about how the books taste. That is one thing they really need there to be, at least in some part, for me to give 5 stars, but as far as right now, I'm really enjoying and this beautiful edition. Next we can go on to Fairyloot books, and I have one extra book in there than just 3 months, because the August book I got a little bit early, before the end of the month. So since I did receive it in August, I kept it there. I usually get, for example, the August book box I get usually at the beginning of next month, in, for example, September. So we'll start with The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah, and we have these beautiful sprayed edges. So this should be a retelling of 1001 Nights, and this should be a story about a smuggler, a cowardly prince, and the dangerous quest across desert to find a lamp. As far as I have seen, I think most people who have read this book have really enjoyed it. So for the next month, I actually got 2 books. So I'll start with the actual book, and this is This Vicious Grace by Emily Feed, and it looks absolutely beautiful. This yellow is so pretty, and I'll try to squeeze this in before it gets too folly, and I can devour this beautiful yellow book. So this should be a fantasy romance, as most YA books are, and this should be a main character who has a magical gift that should be magnifying the partner's magic. However, she kills them instead. So she hires a bodyguard who is probably a vegan grumpy dude, and they go on an adventure together. And as far as I know, there should be some demons also in it. So honestly, everything about this book and synopsis is calling me to pick this up. And as an additional book, we got Twin Crowns by Catherine Doyle and Catherine Weber. And this is a story about 2 princesses that I think wants to kill each other to get the throne. That's as far as I know. And my experience with Illumicrate and Fairyloot extra books are I love to receive them. However, I'm not, for some reason, really invited or inspired to read them. I have read up to this point just one, the Ivory Key, and I actually really enjoyed it. So maybe I should pick them up more. However, this is also a tiny bit of a chunker with almost 500 pages. But if the book is so pretty, maybe we should read this. Next, we have The Darkening by Sonia Mara, and for some reason, maybe it's the cover, maybe it's the plot, gives me other YA on the sea stories, for example, The House of Salt and Sorrow. What else have I read? And now I am completely blanking on this. However, this is a debut book by this author, and it should be about the events in the eye of the storm. We have failed revolutionaries' daughter, so that's a whole pot of problems, and we have a prince that doesn't want to get the throne. So for some reason it does give me other mermaid retelling stories. I don't know why, but if I'm ever picking this up, I'll let you know. And I think from the books that I have gotten from Fairyloot, I'm the most excited about the last one because it has been on my TBR before I knew it was a Fairyloot book, and that is Violet Made of Thorns by Gina Shen. And this gives, I think I put it on my TBR because it gave me fantasy, a little bit darker fantasy story with a lot of creepy forest and that kind of vibes, but this is about a witch who has very loose morals. She is working for a king, however she divines or tells the future of whatever is the most advantageous for her. So it honestly makes me quite excited to pick this up also. However, what makes me a little bit hesitant is that the synopsis says it's perfect for fans of The Cruel Prince and Serpent and Tall, and both of their first book was okay. It wasn't the greatest book ever, and the series got really bad in my opinion for both. However, I haven't finished the Serpent and Tall trilogy, but hopefully this one is better. So I think we're gonna go still more for the heights, and we're gonna take up the Illumicrate books. So we can start with another book I have actually read, and that is Book of Night by Holly Black. And this is her debut into adult fantasy. So this is about a main character, and she's just a human in a world where there is something called shadow magic. Basically, people can manipulate their shadows. They become something like demons or living entities that will do your bidding. So the main character is a thief that steals these magical books about how you can manipulate your shadow. So everything sounds absolutely amazing. However, I found that this book lacked in plot, depth, atmosphere, and characters were quite flat. And I think most people thought the same. There is the potential in there, however, I just found that it didn't deliver. And I am actually debating whether I'm keeping this book or not. So I think the next book is very controversial, and that is We All Fall Down by Rose Slavo. So this looks absolutely beautiful book, and this is first book in a duology. It should be dark fantasy duology about a world where there were witches and people with magical powers. However, they have been dying out, or their powers have been dying out, and how the world is coping with that. However, what is the controversial, I think, as far as I remember people talking about it, was that it's a LGBTQ+ book, and how things are portrayed in this one isn't the best. The synopsis also says, which gives a little bit of warning bells, is how is it possible to be queer and turn out just fine? And so I don't know. I think I'm gonna give this a chance, and we'll see how this goes. However, this is another book that it doesn't invite me to pick it up right now, so maybe I'll do something where I'm reading books that I am iffy about, or I don't know for certain if I'm gonna like it, or just be books that I'm not 100% like I need to devour this book. There's Uh, so we'll see. And this tower is getting beautiful. The next book is The Drowned Woods by Emily Lloyd Jones, and this is a beautiful book. It is supposed to be taking place in Wales, so I'm guessing it is taking place in our world. It also says that this is connected with The Bone Houses by the same author. It's in the same world, and that book is also on my TBR, so maybe I should read that before getting into this one. And this is another witchy book. Basically, we have the main character, Mer, who is water diviner, so I think tells futures from the water, who has been tied down to a prince. However, she is escaping, so it looks like it is she trying to escape and him trying to find her story. So honestly, I'm kind of excited about this. I usually don't even read the synopsis of these books that I get, so it's good to brush up on a little bit about what this book is. I'll probably forget it in 5 minutes, but honestly, it makes me want to pick most of these books up. And the last book is Fable. Look how pretty this is. We have the box, so we'll put it here and we can put the actual book on the pile. So I think this is most people's most anticipated book. So R.F. Kuang wrote the popular trilogy and most people loved it and enjoyed it, although it's a very dark, grim fantasy inspired by actual wars in China. So this is a little bit different kind of book. So this should be more as a textbook about people going to a school in Fable. I don't know, again, a lot about what is here. I have mostly heard raving reviews. However, I think Covers with Cassidy read it and did not enjoy it. She felt as she was reading a textbook. So it made me a little bit hesitant. However, I am going to receive 3 copies of this book. So hopefully I enjoy it. Otherwise, it's gonna be a selling time. So we have gotten through most of the books. However, I still have 9 books left. However, half of those I haven't actually paid for. So I won a giveaway. And what I received was 5 books, 4 of which were Books of the Month books. And since Book of the Month doesn't send, or you can't order their books from outside US, I think, it's a good way to see their quality and also enjoy some of these books. I don't know if I will be keeping these books for myself. However, I will be definitely reading them and then deciding whether I'm giving away or I'm donating them to library if I don't 100% enjoy them, if they're just a decent read. However, if they are very enjoyable and I really like it, I will keep them. The first one is The Hex by Erin Sterling, and this is about witch that lives in our world who has hexed her ex and things are going awry. This has been on my TBR previously, so I'm quite excited that I got a physical copy to read it. And oh my god, look how big the font is. So I don't know how tall we can make this file until it's out of the frame, but we'll see. The next one is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. And as far as I know, this is really love. This should be about a romance story between a scientist, a PhD candidate, and apparently a professor. This should be a Kylo Ren fanfiction story, so that isn't the thing that is particularly attracting me to this book. And also it's a contemporary romance that I'm a little bit iffy about. I'm not invited. I like paranormal romance more, and also this is about PhD students, and I am afraid that they will make it look very unrealistic, like everything is going fine, we are so smart, everything is perfect. And honestly, we just talked about with my work people, I was a PhD student, now I'm a dropout, and let's be honest, 99% of us all had pretty good depression. Life is not good for a PhD student in most places. We do have that one rare student who is doing really fine, but otherwise it's not good for your mental health. Next, we have Flickr in the Dark by Stacey Willingham, and I think I have very briefly heard some mentionings of this. This is a thriller book, so there were a lot of girls disappearing in a small town, and the main character's father said that he did crimes. So now lots of years have passed, however, new girls are going missing. And honestly, it sounds interesting, and I am actually quite interested in picking this up, hopefully in October maybe, to read some mystery thrillers in spooky month. And last book of the month we have is The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina. I probably butchered that, so I'm really sorry. And the author is Soraya Cordova. And this sounds interesting story. This is about literally Orquídea Divina, who I think passed away, and their family had some magical skills, or she had, and she is giving her descendants the inheritance. However, things are going awry a little bit later, and some people I think are after the magic. Yes, hidden figure begins to tear through their family tree, picking them off one by one as they seek to destroy Orquídea's line. So I'm not 100% pulled in, but I'm really up to seeing new cultures and a different kind of stories that I didn't grow up surrounded by. So I'm definitely going to pick it up at some point. And the last book I got, I think I am the most iffy about, and this is The Last Duel by Eric Jaeger. This is a story of crime, scandal, and trial by combat. So this should be historical fantasy, historical fiction story. I'm not even sure. It is taking place in 100 Years War time, and basically one female is accusing a man of raping her, and what they do is the men have to duel it out. And it says this is a creeping true story of duels to end all duels in medieval France, and the pit that pits a knight against the squire accused of violating the knight's beautiful young wife. And apparently it's supposed to be also a movie, so I think this, from all of these books, is the least I am drawn to. However, I'll definitely try to pick it up at least at some point. However, the font is quite small also, so we'll see when that happens. But it's only 200 pages, so it shouldn't be that bad. And now we have just 4 books left. My pile is getting way too long, so I'll just go over 4 books that I have actually bought myself from bookstores or ordered online that isn't a pre-order or book subscription. So first one is The Lies of Loch Lomora by Scott Lynch. So in June I went to Amsterdam to Worthing, and I decided to pick up 2 books. So this was one of them. Honestly, I didn't find a very good selection. I visited Waterstones and American Bookstore. There was good selection of books. However, there weren't anything special edition that I was pulling towards, or maybe like, ooh, I'm really interested in this book, I'll pick it up. And also they were tiny, even more expensive than Estonia. So I just picked up 2 books. So The Lies of Loch Lomora. If you want to know anything about this book, go visit Murphy Napier's channel. This is her favorite story. It should be about a bunch of mischiefs doing some thieving. I think it should be a book series about camaraderie, and she knows all about it and knows how to actually recommend that. I just picked it up because it's on my TBR, and if I have the first book, then maybe I'll start reading that trilogy. So I'll try to get through the last of the books really fast. And the second one that I bought in Amsterdam was Echo by Thomas Olde Huvelt. This is not his most known book. I think that was called Hex. Yes, that was a sensational debut into the English language novels, and he is also a Hugo Award winner. And this is a mystery thriller book, I would call it. Basically, we have 2 dudes who are in a relationship, and one is a mountain climber that went into the mountains. However, coming back, he got really badly wounded, and things are starting to happen around him. So we are not 100% sure what is going on. We'll start seeing snippets into what happened in the mountains and trying to discover what happened and what is affecting everything around them and people dying. But also for the other boyfriend, we get some snippets into his past. He had cabin burned down, and that is also affecting everything else. So it was quite an interesting story, and I actually really enjoyed it. Next we have Gracelink, the graphical novel by Kristen Gashore and Gareth Nent, and this is based on the book The Gracelink by Kristen Gashore. I read the actual book some years ago, so I don't remember the plot 100%. And this is basically the same book in graphical novel version. And this is the art style. If you are interested, this is a book about people who have graces that aren't treated that well. So what are the graces is that they have some magical skill that they're really good at, or some other. So basically our main character is really good at fighting. She never loses. And we have the other main character, Poe, I think was a foreign prince, and he has a combat skills grace, so it is quite interesting to see who will win the battle between them. But also they are looking at the mystery who stole Poe's grandfather and what is going on in one of the kingdoms in their land. However, I find it average book. I really enjoyed the Gracelink. The first two books, I wasn't a perfect fan of the third book as far as I remember, but that was, I think, 2014, 15, 16, 18, somewhere there, a lot of years ago. However, this didn't make me as passionate about this series, but I do want to reread the whole series and see how much I enjoy them. So you can't see the top of the pile, but I'll just keep piling up to that. We have just one more book left, and that is Beneath the Keep by Erika Johansen, and this is an extra novel for her Tearling series. I read Tearling series last year and I absolutely loved it. It's a epic high fantasy series that is a very dark. Basically, we have a young princess whose mother is killed, but she has been sequestered away from the kingdom to live as anonymously as possible. However, now she has to take up the throne. However, the situation in the world isn't the best. We have an evil witchy queen in the next kingdom who wants to destroy their kingdom, so she has to come up with a ploy to make her country survive while they don't have a lot. And this Beneath the Keep is actually a story of her mother and the queen's card that also guarded both the mother and her. So I'm really interested in reading this and getting more snippets into that series. However, the Tearling series was really dark and a depression fest. So it was dark because it was a war, and if you think about the Poppy War, the descriptions of war there, so it's quite similar in the Tearling series. Very graphical, and also there was this another timeline, so basically giving us insight how people came to that country or that place from our world, and the situation in that wasn't the greatest. There was a lot of domestic abuse, and it just made everything feel depressed. However, I really enjoyed it, even besides the depression. But these are all the books that I received in the summer. Sadly, I have just reading 1, read 2, nothing else, 3, 4. I've just read 4 books, right? That's not good. But I'm actually really excited and plan to pick up a couple of these in really near future. So I think that's gonna be okay. So let me know down in the comments if you're excited about any of these or you really hated one of them. But other than that, thank you for watching. I do hope you enjoyed this video, and bye!